What if everything you believed about talent, intelligence, and success was wrong? What if your potential wasn't set in stone but shaped entirely by how you think? Here's the truth: success isn't reserved for the smartest or the most talented, it's for those who dare to grow. But most people are trapped by a mindset they don't even know they have. So, here's the question: which mindset is controlling your life right now? In her groundbreaking book, Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, Carol S. Dweck reveals the hidden power of our beliefs about ourselves. She explains why some people thrive under pressure while others crumble, why some relationships flourish, and why true greatness isn't about talent but perspective. In this video, we'll break down her revolutionary ideas and show you how to harness the power of a growth mindset to change your life. From personal stories to actionable steps, you'll learn how to transform the way you think, work, and live. The mindsets. There's a good chance you've heard someone say, "I'm just not good at math," or "she's naturally talented, I could never do that." Those are classic examples of a fixed mindset in action. People with a fixed mindset believe that their abilities, intelligence, and even personality are carved in stone. They think you're either born with a gift or you're not, and no amount of effort is going to change that. Now, contrast that with a growth mindset. Imagine someone saying, "I'm not great at math yet, but with enough practice, I'll get there," or "I wasn't born knowing how to play guitar, but every day I'm getting better." A growth mindset is the belief that abilities can be developed through hard work, learning, and perseverance. It's not about where you start, it's about how far you're willing to go. These two mindsets influence every corner of your life, often without you even realizing it. Let's start with work. Picture two employees given the same challenging project. The one with a fixed mindset looks at the task and thinks, "If I mess this up, everyone will know I'm not cut out for this." They procrastinate, avoid feedback, and stick to what they already know. The result? Stagnation. Meanwhile, the growth-minded employee thinks, "This is tough, but it's a chance to learn something new." They dive into the challenge, ask questions, and see feedback as a tool to improve. Even if they don't nail it on the first try, they walk away smarter and more capable than before. Over time, guess who gets promoted? Now think about relationships. Have you ever had a disagreement with someone who just refused to see your side? Fixed mindsets in relationships can be toxic. People start thinking, "This is just how they are, they'll never change," or, "If we're arguing, maybe we're not meant to be together." A fixed mindset locks you into black and white thinking. But with a growth mindset, you see arguments as opportunities to grow closer, to understand each other better. You don't run away at the first sign of trouble, you dig deeper, work through it, and come out stronger on the other side. Personal growth is where these mindsets really show their power, or their limits. Have you ever wanted to try something new but stopped yourself because you thought, "I'll probably fail, so why bother?" That's a fixed mindset shutting the door on opportunity. But a growth mindset swings it wide open. It whispers, "You might fail, but you'll learn something valuable, and next time you'll be better." It's what turns setbacks into comebacks. Take J.K. Rowling, for example. She was rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter was picked up. Imagine if she'd had a fixed mindset, 12 rejections? Maybe I'm just not cut out to be a writer. Instead, her growth mindset kept her going. She believed her craft could improve, and boy, did it ever. Michael Jordan is another prime example. People love to talk about his incredible talent, but here's what they don't often mention: he didn't even make his high school varsity basketball team on his first try. He could have said, "Well, I guess I'm not good enough," and walked away. Instead, he used that failure as fuel, practicing harder than ever before. That's the growth mindset in action, turning rejection into determination and eventually into greatness. Even the way we handle failure comes back to these mindsets. With a fixed mindset, failure feels like proof that you're not good enough. It's embarrassing, something to avoid at all costs. But with a growth mindset, failure is just data, it's feedback that helps you improve. Thomas Edison famously said about his attempts to create the light bulb, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's the epitome of growth mindset thinking. Every mistake brings you closer to success. These mindsets aren't just about work or achievements, they affect how we see ourselves. A fixed mindset says, "You're stuck with the hand you've been dealt." A growth mindset says, "You can reshuffle the deck anytime." It's not some fluffy, feel-good concept, it's a way of seeing the world that actually works. When you believe you can grow, you're willing to take risks, embrace challenges, and step outside your comfort zone. And that's where all the good stuff in life happens. Inside the mindsets. Mindsets don't just appear out of nowhere, they're built, layer by layer, often starting in childhood. Think about how kids soak up every word and interaction like sponges. Now imagine a child acing a math test and being told, "Wow, you're so smart." Sounds harmless, right? But over time, that kind of praise can quietly plant a fixed mindset. The child starts to think their success comes from being naturally gifted, not from their effort. The problem? When the next challenge rolls around and it's not so easy, they might think, "Oh, maybe I'm not as smart as everyone says." Contrast that with a child who hears, "Great job. You worked so hard to figure that out." That's effort-based praise, and it tells the child their actions, not some magical, unchangeable trait, led to their success. It's a small shift, but it makes all the difference. The way adults talk to kids creates ripples that last a lifetime. Labels like gifted or talented can sound flattering, but they come with baggage. A child labeled gifted might shy away from challenges that could reveal they're not perfect. On the flip side, a child who's told, "You're just not good at this," might never even try to improve. It's a bit like planting two seeds, one in fertile soil and one in gravel. Both have potential, but only one is given the chance to grow. When we label kids, we're choosing the soil we plant them in. But here's the thing, mindsets aren't set in stone. The brain is constantly evolving, thanks to a little thing called neuroplasticity. Neuro what now? Think of neuroplasticity as your brain's personal gym. Just like muscles get stronger with exercise, your brain can rewire itself with practice. It's why someone who once thought, "I'm terrible at public speaking," can go on to deliver killer presentations. The brain adapts to what you teach it, but only if you're willing to put in the reps. Let me tell you about a real-life example of this. There's a man named John who spent most of his life avoiding anything remotely creative. He'd always been told he was the math guy, not the artsy type. But one day, in his late 30s, he decided to try painting. At first, he was terrible, like stick figures and blobs of color terrible. But he didn't stop. Slowly, his brain started to connect the dots. Over months of practice, his work transformed, and now his paintings hang in galleries. It wasn't talent that got him there. It was the growth mindset paired with the brain's incredible ability to adapt. Even science backs this up. Studies show that when people adopt a growth mindset, their brains light up differently during challenges. Instead of shutting down, they get curious. They treat obstacles as puzzles to solve, not as walls to avoid. And those tiny sparks of curiosity create neural pathways that make future challenges easier to tackle. It's like building a mental roadmap for success. Take the story of a woman named Maria. She grew up being told she wasn't book smart. Teachers overlooked her, and she believed she wasn't cut out for academics. But in her 20s, Maria stumbled upon the concept of neuroplasticity and decided to give learning another shot. She started with small steps, reading a chapter of a book each day and taking notes. At first, it was frustrating. She felt slow and out of her depth. But over time, her brain adapted. Today, Maria has a PhD. What changed? Not her IQ, but her mindset and her understanding that the brain can grow with effort. The beauty of neuroplasticity is that it levels the playing field. You don't have to be born a genius to achieve incredible things. You just have to believe in your capacity to grow and then put in the work. It's like upgrading your phone's operating system. Your brain is ready to install the new software, you just need to give it the update. What's wild is how often we underestimate this power. Think about how many people settle into their, "I'm just not a ____ person" box. I'm not athletic, I'm not creative, I'm not good at learning languages. These aren't facts, they're mindsets formed by years of mislabeling and underestimating the brain's potential. But once you realize that those labels are just outdated programs, you can start rewriting them. The process isn't easy, but that's the point. It's in the struggle that the brain grows. It's in the effort that the magic happens. And the best part? It's never too late to start. Whether you're 8 or 80, your brain is waiting for you to challenge it, to push it, and to show it what's possible. The truth about ability and accomplishment. Let's get one thing straight, talent is wildly overrated. We love the idea of natural talent because it's flashy, almost magical, like someone woke up one day and could belt out operatic notes or paint masterpieces without breaking a sweat. But here's the truth, talent might give someone a head start, but it's effort that gets you across the finish line. Think of it this way. If talent is a spark, effort is the oxygen that turns it into a blazing fire. Without effort, that spark fizzles out. Meanwhile, someone with no spark at all, but a lot of grit, can still light their own fire. Take Michael Jordan, one of the most celebrated basketball players in history. People often call him a natural, but the reality? He didn't even make his high school varsity basketball team at first. Imagine that. A kid who's now considered the GOAT was once told, "Sorry, you're not good enough." Did he give up? Not a chance. Jordan hit the court harder than ever, working on his game until he became unstoppable. That wasn't talent, it was obsession-level effort and resilience. And that brings us to an important point. Effort beats talent when talent doesn't try. You've probably seen it yourself. That kid in school who was effortlessly good at math or sports but didn't bother to put in any work. Meanwhile, someone else, who wasn't naturally gifted, grinded every day and ended up surpassing them. Talent might get you in the door, but it's effort and perseverance that keep you there, and push you further. Here's where failure comes into the picture, and oh boy, does it get a bad rap. Society teaches us to fear failure, to avoid it at all costs. But failure isn't the enemy, it's the teacher. The way you react to failure says everything about your mindset. A fixed mindset treats failure like a full stop. I failed, therefore I'm not good at this, and I never will be. It's like slamming the brakes and refusing to move forward. A growth mindset, on the other hand, sees failure as a comma. I failed, but I'm not done yet. It's a pause, a moment to regroup and figure out what comes next. Let's talk about the role of failure in the stories we idolize. Look at someone like J.K. Rowling. Before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, she was rejected by a dozen publishers. Imagine that, 12 people essentially saying, "Your work isn't good enough." A fixed mindset might have packed up the manuscript and said, "Maybe I'm just not cut out to be an author." But Rowling pushed through, rewrote, resubmitted, and eventually changed the landscape of literature forever. Failure wasn't the end for her, it was just part of the process. The thing is, failure is uncomfortable. No one enjoys it in the moment, and that's okay. The key is understanding that discomfort doesn't mean defeat. It means you're learning. Think of it like going to the gym. When you push your muscles to their limits, they ache, but that ache is what makes them stronger. Failure works the same way. Each setback builds resilience, and every misstep teaches you something new. Here's a real-world example. Thomas Edison. The guy who invented the light bulb famously said, "I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's the growth mindset in action. He didn't see those 10,000 attempts as wasted time, he saw them as stepping stones toward success. If Edison had a fixed mindset, we might all still be sitting in the dark. It's not just about how you personally respond to failure, it's about the culture you create around it. In workplaces, schools, and even families, the way failure is treated can make or break someone's potential. Are mistakes punished, or are they seen as opportunities to grow? The difference can shape whether someone develops a fixed or growth mindset. And let's not forget, failure isn't a one-and-done deal. It's going to happen again and again. The question isn't if you'll fail, but how you'll respond when you do. Will you throw in the towel, or will you roll up your sleeves and try again? Effort and perseverance don't just help you recover from failure, they make you better because of it. That's the magic formula: fail, learn, adapt, repeat. Sports, the mindset of a champion. Athletes are often admired for their physical prowess, but if you think about it, the real game is in their minds. The body follows where the mind leads, and in sports, mindset can be the difference between greatness and mediocrity. Take fixed mindset athletes, for example. They're the ones who believe their abilities are set in stone, either they've got it, or they don't. This mindset breeds fear, especially fear of failure. Imagine a soccer player who won't take a penalty kick in a high-stakes match because missing it might damage their reputation. That's a fixed mindset in action. They avoid risks because they see failure as a reflection of their abilities, not as a chance to improve. Now contrast that with athletes who operate with a growth mindset. These are the players who embrace challenges, knowing that every setback is a setup for a comeback. For them, failure isn't something to fear, it's just another rep in the gym of life. Think of Serena Williams, arguably one of the greatest tennis players of all time. She didn't achieve that status by assuming she was naturally better than everyone else. Serena faced injuries, losses, and critics who doubted her longevity, yet she kept evolving. Her resilience and willingness to learn from every match, win or lose, exemplify the growth mindset. She didn't just rely on talent, she combined it with relentless effort and a refusal to settle. And let's talk about resilience, the secret weapon of every growth mindset athlete. Take Michael Phelps, for instance. Sure, he's got more Olympic medals than most people have vacation photos, but his journey wasn't all gold and glory. In 2014, after achieving unprecedented success, Phelps hit rock bottom, battling depression and substance abuse. A fixed mindset might have said, well, that's the end of my story. But Phelps sought help, rebuilt his mental and physical health, and returned to win 5 gold medals in the 2016 Olympics. His mindset wasn't just about winning races, it was about overcoming personal demons and proving that growth is always possible, no matter how far you fall. The value of practice is another hallmark of a growth mindset, and no one illustrates this better than basketball legend Kobe Bryant. His talent was undeniable, but what truly set him apart was his work ethic. Kobe was infamous for his insane training schedule, waking up at 4 a.m., shooting hundreds of free throws, and studying game footage like a scientist analyzing data. For Kobe, every missed shot was a lesson, not a failure. He didn't see himself as a finished product but as a perpetual work in progress. That's the essence of a growth mindset, recognizing that greatness isn't given, it's earned, one grueling practice session at a time. But let's not overlook the value of grit in sports. Grit is that combination of passion and perseverance that keeps you going when the odds are stacked against you. Consider Simone Biles, the gymnastics superstar. In the 2021 Olympics, she made headlines not for her medal count but for her decision to prioritize her mental health by stepping back from several events. Critics were quick to pounce, but here's the thing, Simone's decision showed incredible grit. It takes strength to acknowledge your limits and even more strength to regroup and come back stronger. By the end of the competition, she returned to win a bronze medal on the balance beam, a testament to her resilience and growth mindset. Growth mindset athletes don't just play the game, they learn from it. Take Tom Brady, for example. Drafted in the 6th round as the 199th pick, Brady wasn't exactly the NFL's golden boy. Scouts questioned his speed, strength, and overall athleticism. But Brady didn't let those doubts define him. Instead, he used them as fuel to become the most decorated quarterback in NFL history. His story isn't about raw talent, it's about leveraging setbacks, refining his skills, and outworking everyone else in the room. And what about failure? In sports, failure isn't just inevitable, it's constant. Even the best athletes lose, make mistakes, or face injuries. But growth mindset athletes view these as opportunities to adapt and improve. Think of Usain Bolt, the fastest man alive. In his early career, Bolt struggled with injuries and inconsistent performances. A fixed mindset might have said, maybe I'm not cut out for this. But Bolt doubled down on his training, adjusted his technique, and eventually became a global icon. For him, every loss was a lesson, every injury a chance to refine his approach. At the heart of it, the mindset of a champion isn't about being the best all the time. It's about showing up, learning, and improving, no matter the circumstances. These athletes remind us that talent may get you on the field, but it's mindset that keeps you in the game. Business, mindset, and leadership. Leadership isn't just about making decisions or delegating tasks, it's about shaping the mindset of an entire organization. And here's the kicker, a leader's mindset is contagious. Fixed mindset leaders are like those people at meetings who always need to be the smartest in the room. They fear being wrong because they think their authority hinges on perfection. If someone challenges their ideas, they see it as a threat rather than an opportunity to improve. Think of a manager who insists their way is the only way, shutting down any innovative suggestions. This kind of leadership stifles creativity, breeds resentment, and, let's be honest, makes Monday mornings unbearable. But growth mindset leaders? They're a different breed. These are the people who see feedback as fuel and failure as a stepping stone. They don't just tolerate challenges, they thrive on them. Picture a CEO who openly admits, I don't have all the answers, but let's figure it out together. That kind of humility and adaptability inspires teams to take risks and think outside the box. Growth mindset leaders foster collaboration because they know that the best ideas often come from unexpected places. And when things go sideways, as they inevitably do in business, they don't panic. They adapt, pivot, and lead by example. Let's take a look at some real-world examples. Microsoft is a company that owes much of its recent success to a shift in leadership mindset. When Satya Nadella became CEO, he didn't just focus on products, he focused on people. Nadella introduced a culture of learning, encouraging employees to embrace challenges and take ownership of their growth. Under his leadership, Microsoft moved from a know-it-all culture to a learn-it-all culture. The result? The company regained its competitive edge, reaching new heights in innovation and market value. Nadella's growth mindset didn't just transform the company, it revitalized its employees' passion and creativity. And then there's Howard Schultz, the man behind Starbucks' meteoric rise. Schultz didn't just see Starbucks as a coffee company, he saw it as a community. When the business faced challenges, like the 2008 financial crisis, Schultz didn't cut corners or blame the economy. Instead, he focused on retraining employees, improving the customer experience, and fostering a culture of accountability and growth. His leadership wasn't about avoiding mistakes, it was about learning from them. And that mindset turned Starbucks into one of the most recognized and beloved brands in the world. But growth mindset leadership isn't just for CEOs and billion-dollar companies. It applies to anyone leading a team, no matter the size. Imagine a small business owner who values employee input, treats mistakes as learning opportunities, and constantly seeks ways to improve. That's the kind of leadership that inspires loyalty and drives success. In contrast, a fixed mindset leader in the same position might micromanage every detail, stifle innovation, and wonder why their business isn't growing. The difference lies not in resources but in mindset. One of the most powerful traits of growth mindset leaders is their ability to embrace change. Take Jeff Bezos, for example. Amazon didn't start as the e-commerce giant we know today, it began as an online bookstore. But Bezos saw potential beyond books. His willingness to experiment, fail, and learn led Amazon to dominate industries from cloud computing to entertainment. Bezos famously said, "If you double the number of experiments you do per year, you're going to double your inventiveness." That's the growth mindset in action, turning uncertainty into opportunity. And let's not forget the impact of leadership mindset on team dynamics. A fixed mindset leader might avoid hiring people who are smarter or more skilled than them, fearing it'll make them look weak. But growth mindset leaders actively seek out diverse talents, knowing that a strong team makes the leader, and the organization, stronger. Think of a basketball coach who benches the star player in favor of someone who's better for the team's strategy. That takes confidence and a commitment to growth over ego. Leadership is also about how you handle setbacks. When Airbnb faced rejection after rejection in its early days, the founders didn't give up. Instead, they got creative, selling cereal to keep the company afloat and iterating on their business model until it worked. Today, Airbnb is a household name, and its leaders credit their success to a relentless growth mindset. They didn't just see problems, they saw possibilities. So whether you're leading a Fortune 500 company or managing a group project, remember this: mindset matters. Fixed mindset leaders may achieve short-term results, but they often hit a ceiling. Growth mindset leaders, on the other hand, inspire innovation, resilience, and lasting success. They understand that leadership isn't about having all the answers, it's about creating an environment where everyone can grow and succeed. Relationships, mindsets in love or not. When it comes to relationships, mindset can make all the difference between a connection that thrives and one that falls apart. A fixed mindset in a relationship is like a rock in the middle of a river. It doesn't move, and it makes everything around it stagnant. People with a fixed mindset often view problems as a reflection of personal flaws. If there's tension or conflict, they see it as evidence that something is wrong with the other person, or worse, with themselves. "We're just not compatible" becomes the go-to excuse when things get tough, rather than seeing conflict as a chance for both people to learn and grow together. In a fixed mindset, love can feel like a battleground where the goal is to win the argument or preserve your pride, instead of finding a solution that works for both people. It's exhausting and often leads to the feeling that you're stuck in a relationship, unable to move forward. On the flip side, people with a growth mindset approach relationships like a garden. They understand that growth takes time, effort, and sometimes a little pruning. A growth mindset allows people to see challenges in relationships as opportunities, not as evidence of failure. When conflicts arise, instead of thinking, "This isn't working," they ask themselves, "How can we fix this together?" They see disagreements as a way to get closer, learn more about each other, and deepen their bond. When they hit bumps in the road, they don't think the relationship is doomed, they think, what can we both learn from this? It's a mindset that leads to growth, not just individually, but as a couple. That's how relationships flourish over time. They're not perfect from the start, but with effort and the right mindset, they can become something stronger, more resilient. When it comes to conflict, a growth mindset shifts the focus from winning to understanding. Imagine a couple that's arguing about how to spend the holidays. A fixed mindset might have one person saying, "You never listen to me, you don't care," and the other shutting down, thinking, "I'm always wrong, so why bother?" But with a growth mindset, both partners approach the situation with curiosity. Why do you feel this way? What's important to you about this? Instead of fighting to prove who's right, they fight to understand each other. There's no defensiveness, just openness to listen and a shared goal to find a solution that works for both people. This type of mindset creates resilience because it doesn't focus on the problem at hand but on the bigger picture, creating a stronger relationship that can weather future storms. Now, let's be real, being vulnerable is hard. It's tough to admit that you don't have all the answers, especially when it feels like your relationship is on the line. But vulnerability is essential when it comes to building a growth mindset in love. If you're too afraid to admit that you were wrong or that you made a mistake, you're essentially placing an invisible wall between you and your partner. But when you approach a relationship with a growth mindset, you can say, "Hey, I messed up. I'm sorry, but here's what I learned." This doesn't weaken your position, it strengthens the bond between you and your partner. Vulnerability fosters deeper connection because it shows your willingness to grow, both individually and together. One of my favorite stories about growth mindset and vulnerability comes from a couple who had been together for years but kept hitting the same roadblock over how to handle their finances. Every time the topic came up, they argued, and it felt like they were stuck in a loop. The woman, let's call her Rachel, had a fixed mindset about money. She believed that people either knew how to handle it or didn't. Her partner, let's call him Alex, had a growth mindset, but he hadn't really expressed his feelings about the issue. Instead of avoiding the conversation, Alex decided to be vulnerable. He said, "I don't know everything about finances, but I want us to figure it out together. Let's learn about it together and start making decisions as a team." That openness changed the dynamic. They both read books, attended financial workshops, and supported each other through the process. Not only did they fix their financial issues, but their relationship became stronger. They both saw mistakes as learning opportunities, and this mindset transformed how they approached challenges in other areas of their lives. Parenting, teaching, and coaching, where mindsets matter. When it comes to parenting, teaching, and coaching, the way we approach mindset can either light a fire under someone or snuff it out completely. Think about a child who gets praise for their results, "You're so smart," or "You're amazing for winning that race." It's a nice compliment, right? But what happens when the results aren't as stellar? If a child is constantly praised for their natural ability, they start to believe that their worth is tied only to what they can immediately do well. The moment they hit a challenge or fail at something, their confidence takes a hit, and they might even give up, convinced that they just aren't good enough. On the other hand, when we praise effort over results, something powerful happens. Instead of reinforcing a belief in innate talent, we help children see that growth is within their control. "I'm so proud of how hard you worked," or "Look how much progress you've made, keep going." These kinds of statements inspire kids to take on challenges with the belief that they can improve through effort. It's a mindset that teaches them that failure isn't a reflection of who they are, it's just part of the learning process. This is the kind of growth mindset we want to nurture in kids because it's what helps them become resilient, curious, and willing to take risks. Raising a growth-minded child doesn't mean we ignore their achievements, but it means we focus more on the effort and the journey rather than the destination. One of the easiest ways to do this is to foster a love of learning, not just a desire to perform well. Encourage curiosity in your kids. Don't just settle for, "I don't know," when they ask a tough question. Get excited about learning together, whether it's a trip to a museum, a new science experiment at home, or reading a book outside of the curriculum. Kids who are encouraged to explore their interests will naturally develop a growth mindset because they'll see that learning is about exploration, not just regurgitating the right answers. My younger brother, for example, struggled in math when he was younger. But instead of getting frustrated or labeling him as bad at math, my parents encouraged him to approach it as a puzzle. Every time he hit a roadblock, they didn't say, "You're not smart enough," they said, "Let's figure out how to solve this together." Slowly but surely, his confidence grew, not because he suddenly got it, but because he started to believe that failure wasn't the end of the story. It was just part of the process. That mindset change was the key to his success. Now, let's take a look at the educators in our lives, teachers, coaches, mentors, who have a profound impact on shaping these mindsets. Teachers and coaches aren't just there to teach a subject or a skill, they're shaping how kids approach challenges, both academically and in life. A fixed mindset educator, however, might focus solely on grades or winning. The student who gets an A+ is the smart one, while the one who struggles is simply not trying hard enough. This kind of feedback reinforces the belief that intelligence is something you're born with, not something you can develop. What's worse, it leaves no room for the process of learning, only the outcome. And when students inevitably encounter a subject or challenge that doesn't come easily to them, they may believe it's a reflection of their limitations rather than a challenge they can overcome with effort. On the other hand, growth mindset educators recognize that learning isn't about being perfect or getting everything right on the first try. They focus on the process, on developing critical thinking skills, fostering creativity, and building resilience. A coach with a growth mindset doesn't just focus on wins and losses but emphasizes the importance of practice, teamwork, and learning from mistakes. These teachers and coaches don't just celebrate results, they celebrate effort, improvement, and the willingness to keep pushing, even when things get tough. They understand that failure is a crucial part of success and that setbacks are where the real learning happens. I've had the privilege of working with several coaches who embraced this mindset. One of them, a basketball coach I had in high school, was relentless about teaching us that it's not about winning, it's about improving. If we lost a game, he didn't focus on what went wrong, he focused on what we could learn from it. He'd say, "What can we do better next time?" And even more importantly, he'd ask us, "What did you learn about yourself?" This approach didn't just help us grow as players, it helped us grow as individuals. The same principle applies in the classroom. Teachers who focus on creativity and problem-solving rather than just results create a space where students feel safe to explore, experiment, and fail without fear of judgment. These students grow up understanding that mistakes aren't fatal, but part of the journey. Ultimately, the mindset we cultivate in children, students, and athletes has a ripple effect on every aspect of their lives. Whether they're taking on new challenges at school, working on a team project, or dealing with setbacks, a growth mindset arms them with the tools they need to tackle life's obstacles. Encouraging effort over results, fostering curiosity, and teaching the value of learning from failure create a generation that sees every challenge as an opportunity to grow, not as a barrier to their success. And this mindset doesn't just benefit individuals, it benefits entire communities. When we lead with a growth mindset in parenting, teaching, and coaching, we're helping to raise resilient, creative, and unstoppable individuals who know that the path to success isn't a straight line, but a series of steps forward. Changing mindsets. Changing mindsets isn't just some motivational fluff. It's real, it's practical, and it's necessary if you want to break out of old patterns and achieve more than you ever thought possible. But before you can start developing a growth mindset, you've got to become aware of where you're currently at. For example, let's say you're working on a big project or tackling something outside your comfort zone, and you hit a wall. Instead of seeing this as an opportunity to learn, you start thinking, "I'm just not good at this." That's your fixed mindset talking. It's sneaky, and it can creep in at the most inconvenient times. Recognizing when you're slipping into that fixed mindset is the first step. You've got to catch yourself in the moment, before those negative thoughts spiral. It's like trying to catch yourself from complaining about traffic while you're stuck in it. It takes practice, but the more you notice, the easier it gets to switch gears. Now that you know when your fixed mindset is showing up, it's time to take action. Developing a growth mindset isn't about just wishing you had it, it's about actively embracing challenges and learning to push through setbacks. Let's say you're learning a new skill, like playing guitar, and your fingers are cramping up, or you just can't get that chord change right. A fixed mindset might say, "I'm never going to be good at this," but the growth mindset would say, "I'm still learning, and every time I mess up, I'm getting better." The magic happens when you persevere through those frustrating moments, whether it's sticking with that guitar lesson or getting back up after a failure at work. Embracing challenges, especially the ones that make you uncomfortable, is how you stretch your abilities. And don't forget the importance of feedback. It's not just about giving yourself a pat on the back when you try hard, it's about using the feedback from others to fine-tune your approach. So, Ask for it. Seek it out. The more you learn to listen to constructive criticism without taking it personally, the faster you'll grow. It's like a mirror that shows you how to improve, if you're brave enough to look into it. Once you start making these changes internally, you also need to create an environment that supports your growth. You can't do it alone, and you shouldn't have to. Surround yourself with people, communities, and workplaces that foster growth. This doesn't mean you need to be surrounded by cheerleaders who only say what you want to hear. It means surrounding yourself with people who encourage effort, who are willing to challenge you, and who believe in the possibility of growth, even when things don't go according to plan. This might look like having a mentor at work who pushes you to think outside the box, or a friend who challenges you to keep going when you want to quit. Or it could be a family that values learning from mistakes instead of trying to protect you from failure. It's the idea that failure isn't a bad word, it's a stepping stone to success. That's the kind of community you want to build around yourself, because growth is contagious. When you see others around you pushing their limits, it makes you want to do the same. But here's the thing, not all growth mindsets are created equal. There's such a thing as a false growth mindset, and it's something you have to be careful of. It's easy to fall into the trap of praising effort without actually encouraging real growth. You've probably heard it before, "Oh, you tried so hard." That's what matters. While effort is important, it's also about the quality of that effort. Just showing up isn't always enough. If you're working on something and you keep doing the same thing over and over without improving, that's not growth, it's just repetition. A false growth mindset can also look like giving people superficial praise, like telling someone, "You're amazing for trying," without giving them the tools to improve or feedback on what they could do better next time. True growth comes from constructive feedback, hard work, and a willingness to face discomfort. Without those things, you're just circling around the same place, pretending to make progress. So, it's important to recognize when you're falling into that trap, both for yourself and when you're helping others develop their mindset. Just being positive isn't enough, you've got to be real about where growth is happening and where it still needs to happen. The road to a growth mindset isn't linear, and it isn't always smooth. There will be bumps, setbacks, and those days where you feel like nothing's changing. But the more you embrace challenges, seek feedback, and surround yourself with a growth-driven environment, the more natural it becomes. The key is to remember that growth isn't about being perfect, it's about getting better over time. So, go ahead, take that first step. Recognize your mindset triggers, push through the discomfort, and start making those shifts. Because once you get into that growth mindset, there's really no limit to where you can go. So, there you have it. Your mindset isn't just a part of who you are, it shapes everything you do. Whether it's in sports, business, relationships, or personal growth, adopting a growth mindset unlocks endless potential. The power is in your hands to change your thinking, face challenges head-on, and thrive in ways you never imagined. Now, it's time to take action. If you're ready to develop that growth mindset and transform your life, hit that subscribe button and dive deeper into this journey with us. Let's make growth unstoppable.